How are you all going? Isn't it nice to be out again? It's just a different feeling, isn't it? I mean, most of my work I do online as well. I do online coaching. But to be out and amongst people, like-minded people, is such a different feeling, isn't it? It feels like what Daniela said. We're here together in the heart, the same mind. You can't do that online. It's impossible. I mean, I'm grateful for that technology that it's possible to connect worldwide. I sometimes host Gene Keys deep dive retreats with 250 people worldwide. So, but it's just a different feeling to be together as one. So, I'm going through a presentation where I want to introduce you to the Gene Keys. Has anyone heard about the Gene Keys? One, two. Has anyone heard about the Human Design System? One, two. Has anyone heard about astrology? The Kabbalah? The chakra system? The Gene Keys is a synthesis that includes a little bit of astrology, because it is based on your time, place, and date of your birth. And it puts that into the system, and it gives you a profile. I'll show you that. And here we can move really from fear-based patterns towards the most inspiring possibilities in our DNA. But before we start, for the records, just a little disclaimer. This presentation is provided on behalf of Conscious Living Foundation. It's our foundation, Chris doesn't mind. And it's private information, only for educational purposes, and does not constitute legal, medical, or financial advice from anyone involved. You know, these days, you have to include those things. So, I'm Rolf, you know that by now. I call myself a conscious living coach. I support people to live a conscious life, self-determined, authentic, and mindful, loving. I'm in Brisbane. I used to be on the Gold Coast for 25 years, but in Brisbane now, or near Brisbane, Cleveland. And I'm a husband, father, grandfather already as well. When people ask me, what do you do? I support people to live a life of purpose and presence. Who would like to live a life of purpose and presence? Good, you're in the right room. And I call myself a guide and companion for transformational purposes. Because I strongly believe we are not here to just fulfill our daily tasks or do a 9-to-5 job, although there's nothing wrong with it. I used to do that too in my early lives, in my past lives. But what's our purpose? Why are we here on this planet? And I ask myself that all the time, what is the nature of my reality? Or the nature of reality? Has anyone ever asked themselves that question? What is it all about? What is this stuff all around me? And secondly, what is the nature of my experience? Or what is the nature of experience? What is this? What is this? Seeing, hearing, touching, smelling, thinking, feeling, sensing. What is it? I remember when I was small, 5 or 6, I started. Questions after questions. What is the secret of the universe? I wanted to find out. So I got myself a little telescope and I was, 9 or 10, I was looking at the stars to find all the answers. Couldn't find anything out there, but later in life, I discovered I can find all the answers within myself. And so can you. So Danielle already mentioned that I supported people to grow into conscious and sovereign beings. What does that mean? Conscious. How would it feel if you make your own decisions? If you live your life in freedom? Self-determined? Does anyone know what that means?
Not if you're from Melbourne.
No, that's hard. It's a bit difficult these days, but even that, I think it's a trigger for us to wake up. It's there for a reason. Individually as well as collectively. So, let's have a look at DNA. Does anyone know what DNA is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Is our destiny written in our DNA? What do you think? And if so, can we influence it, or is it set? You can influence it? Good. I think so too. The lesser known properties of DNA. Let's have a few views here. DNA is a superconductor. Did you know that? It's even a wormhole. We can travel through portals of light, of consciousness. It's an open system, and it responds to influences. Now, what kind of influences? Outside, external influences, as well as internal influences. Does anyone know Bruce Lipton?
Yeah.
Biology of belief, epigenetics, just a few keywords. It bridges even time. It makes quantum leaps. So the old paradigm said, well, I was smiling, Daniela, when you told the story about your dad and heart disease, you know. Oh, it's stuck in your DNA, you can't do anything about it. No, it's wrong. We can, because how DNA works is it's responding from signals, external as well as internal. Bruce Lipton said DNA is reacting to our environment. The most important part of our environment is our mind. How we think, how we feel, how we respond. That's how we influence our DNA. Don't want to go into details here. But you get the picture about DNA? Here's a little bit more. Every emotion carries an electrical charge that generates frequency. Low frequencies, emotions cause your DNA to contract. Make sense? Have you ever feel contracted? And high frequencies and emotions cause your DNA to expand, to be free, to love, to embrace, and to be who you truly are. So every thought, every word, every intention, every feeling, every action, now think about this, this is so important, is directly programming your reality. Remember, what is the nature of your reality? It's programming your DNA. A change in consciousness creates a change in biology. So, consciousness creates reality. Some of you are nodding, it's good.
Do you mind if I photograph some of them?
No, please. Please.
I like to write, but you go.
Yeah, no, take. And anyone can take a photograph, that's fine. That information is on my website anyway, So, and I think that's amazing information. What do you think, how many people out there know this? What do you think, how many people should know about this? Would that create some change within our human consciousness? I think so. So, let's meet your uniqueness. Because we're all individual and we're all unique. We carry a code in us, but that code is so unique. There's only one fingerprint in the world that is exactly like mine. There's only one code in your DNA that is exactly like yours. More than 90% of our life is determined by unconscious patterns. You agree? I call it the autopilot. We do everything just so automatically. Who thinks about how to drive a car? We don't think about it, don't we? How about we make everything more conscious? Conscious choices, conscious actions. So are you ready to bring your individual unconscious patterns into the light of awareness? Because we all have unconscious patterns, right? And they create our reality. We've just heard before that our thoughts, words, actions, feelings are programming our DNA. Our DNA then sends a code to produce, for the cells to produce protein, and therefore it builds your body, it builds your world. So there, from the point of the gene keys, there are three important aspects in life. One is purpose, and we all need to ask our questions sooner or later, what is my purpose in life? I have worked on discovering and refining my purpose in life for the last 25 years. It's not happening overnight, it's a process. Who has found their purpose? Hands up. Who hasn't? Why not? What's stopping you?
Knowing what's ahead.
The next aspect is love. How fulfilling are your relationships? Another question. See, they're all questions for self-inquiry to get into the root of your experience, of your reality. Are you happy? Who's happy? Who's happy with their lives? Good. You must be doing something right. You're on track. The gene keys can help you to get on track. And I'll unravel more and more as we go along. The next big part in our lives is prosperity. And I'm not only talking about money. Money is a means of exchange and the storage of value. That's all it is. It's a social contract, but it's got nothing to do predominantly with prosperity. Prosperity is relationships, freedom, self-determination, sovereignty, connections, community. That's prosperity. That's real prosperity. So, if you ever ask yourself when you found your purpose, how can you or how can I make a meaningful contribution to the community? If I find my purpose and I fulfill it and I live my purpose, I can naturally make a meaningful contribution to my community. And the community then comes to me, and there's an exchange of energy, and whoever I work with, they give me a contribution for my service, my time, my energy. So there are three important questions I all urge you to ask and to contemplate. And do a little bit of soul searching or a little bit of inquiry, self-inquiry. What is my purpose? How fulfilling are my relationships? Am I fulfilling my purpose? What contributions do I make to my community? Now, I'm a Gene Keys ambassador. I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute what that means. So I'm introducing to you the Gene Keys. The Gene Keys are from Richard Rudd. Richard is a teacher, mystic, award-winning poet, and Richard had an experience at the age of 29 where what he calls a field of limitless light that lasted 3 days and 3 nights And Richard felt he was entrusted with a sacred teaching, the wisdom of the gene keys, which he called a transmission. It's a wisdom transmission, constantly changing and interacting with us individually, with our DNA, if you want. He started in 2002 when he wrote the book, conceived the teaching. It took him 7 years. And you can buy that online, The Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. And in 2009, when he published the first edition of his book, The Gene Keys, I found out about Richard and his teachings through human design, which I got introduced by my lovely wife Krista here. She's a human design teacher. And human design is linked or related to the gene keys as well. And I got one of his first books, the first 300 books he put out there in the world. I got one of his books signed with his name. And since then, since 2009, I've been studying the gene keys. What that entails, you will find out. And last year, I've done a whole year program to become a Gene Keys ambassador. I'm one of maybe 85 at the moment, first global wave of Gene Keys ambassadors. And I give talks about the Gene Keys. I give introductory webinars online through my website. I host Gene Keys deep dive retreats online. I'm just about to finish a it's called a deep dive online retreat. It's a 4-month program where you dive deeper into the teachings. So, essentially the Gene Keys are describing archetypical aspects of consciousness. It's about archetypes. From the deepest fear-based patterns to the most inspiring possibilities encoded in our DNA. Does it make sense? Yeah? A few keywords. It's a modern version of the I Ching. Has anyone heard about the Book of Changes, the I Ching, the old Chinese 4,000-year-old knowledge, the I Ching? Yeah? So the Gene Keys is a modern version in a poetic language. It's about codes. It's about discovering our own codes. They're related to our codons. Here we go back to DNA, how we can reprogram our DNA through awareness and mindfulness and through the Gene Keys, knowing your own individual aspects and Gene Keys. It's an enlightened expression of human consciousness. It's the next level of genetic change to move forwards. Daniela, you mentioned the ascension, the mass awakening, the awakening of human consciousness. Gene Keys transmission plays, in my opinion, from my experience, an important part these days. It's an impulse to change your behavior. It helps you to transcend the illusion of separation or otherness. Make sense? Because that's one of our core wounds or misperception. The belief in separation, we're all separate. Yes, I can see separate bodies, but on the level of mind, on the level of an awakened mind, there's only one mind. That's why we are one. That's what it means. We are all one. It talks to you about your shadow aspects, your triggers, your challenges, and how to embrace those triggers instead of fighting them, or trying to get rid of them, or getting upset about them. No, they're there for a reason. It's part of our makeup. They're the victim patterns. Another core aspects of our human suffering, because we are victims, we feel, or we believe, we may believe that we are all victims, that we are at the mercy of a heartless system. No, we're not. We are not. We are authentic human beings, sovereign. We are the one. You've seen the movie The Matrix? You're the one. You are the one. Every one of you. And then that includes to become aware of your triggers, your challenges, your victim patterns. Become aware of them. And then, not working with them, but I'll show you what the Gene Keys teaches. It also reveals the next level, which is your gift, your talents, your potential, which has been hidden or overridden by our shadow aspects. Make sense? Does anyone get a feeling for what I'm talking about? Good. And then, on the next level even, it talks about the siddhi. The siddhi is a Sanskrit word for divine expression. It's when we fully express who we are. And who are we? Again, sovereign, authentic, spiritual beings. Disguised into tiny little victim. But what if you could have a map that shows your individual unconscious patterns, as well as your creative genius, and helping you to grow into an authentic and spiritual human being? Would that be good? Would you be interested? So there are three parts to the Gene Keys. One is Richard's book. You can get that on Amazon or through the Gene Keys website or through my website. It's a softcover book. It's about 530 pages. So it's not a quick read. It takes a while. But it talks about every single Gene Key, the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi. And the second part is you also have a compass. And the compass is your personal profile. It's a series of personalized sequences that reveals the higher purpose behind your life and your relationships. And then you can embark on a journey, if you're interested, which is called the Journey of the Golden Path. It's a guided journey of transformation that shows how to apply this knowledge into everyday life. That's the Gene Keys in a nutshell. Gene Keys is also what I call, or Richard calls, a stargate. So with your hologenetic profile, you go on a voyage of self-illumination. Self-illumination, well, a big word, isn't it? Self-illumination, you let your light shine. And the Gene Keys can help you to let your light shine. Your Gene Keys profile is unifying astrological calculation. Hence, I said before, you need your date, time, and place of birth. And I'll explain a little bit later how that works. With an archetypical understanding of your genetics. So your profile is the original blueprint that shows you who you are, how you operate, and why you're here. What's your purpose? How can you fulfill and live your purpose? So your Gene Keys profile is a guided journey of transformation that shows you how to apply this knowledge into your day-to-day life. If you want to get one of those profiles, you can go on my website and click on Gene Keys and follow the steps. It's a free service, it's a free profile. Anyone can get one of those. It's an example. It's my profile, actually. I'll leave it up for a little while, and then I'll start to explain. Sounds interesting so far? Yeah. So this whole wisdom is, it's about 11, or 11 years. 11 years old. It's been growing globally since then. And this is an example of a Gene Keys profile. Or maybe I'll show the next. Okay, always come back to that. Okay. The activation sequence, which is this aspect, this one, and this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is what's called the activation sequence, or your individual keys to activate your individual purpose. We have within each aspect, which is called in the Gene Keys terminology a sphere. It has 4 shadows, 4 gifts, and 4 cities. And it's talking about your life's work. What are you here to do? Now let's go back to mine. So, life's work. There's some keywords here. The shadow aspect is distraction. The gift is enrichment. The divine aspect is intoxication. And it also has a line, it says server. So this person's trigger or challenge is to get sidetracked all the time. Sidetracked is my trigger or my shadow aspect that prevents me from fulfilling my purpose. Oh, let's do this first. Oh, I need to do the gardening now. But I wanted to do... No, let's do the gardening. Then something else comes up. So, if you run on autopilot, that happens all the time without even you becoming aware of it. But once you're aware, you say, hey, hang on a minute. I was going to do this because I want to put a PowerPoint together for this presentation. And now someone's telling me I need to do some gardening. No, I'm not doing gardening now, I'm doing what I was going to do. It's a first step in becoming aware of your shadow aspects and working with them. And line 4 also says, I'm a server, I'm here to serve, I'm here to offer a service. There are a lot more, obviously, keynotes here, but it's just an example. This one here tells me what am I here to learn, evolution, what am I here to learn, how do I grow? And I have here the shadow of limitation and the gift of reality or realism. So the keywords here can be quite daunting. When I started with the Gene Keys, I was going like, what does it mean? I want to find out, but I can't get my fingers on, and I don't want to read the book, and oh yes, I have to read the book, but no, I don't want to. So it's an individual journey where you sit and use the art of contemplation, because that's the tool the Gene Keys works with, contemplation. Has anyone heard of contemplation? Similar to meditation, but you can do it while you do the dishes, or you drive in a car, or you just get a word, like distraction for instance, and you contemplate. What does it mean for me? When do I get distracted? How do I get distracted from the outside? How do others distract me? And how do I distract myself? See how it works? It's about mindfulness and writing a diary, writing it, doing contemplation, conscious contemplation. That's how you work with the keywords, like the shadows and the gifts. See, distraction can be something more individual for me than for someone else. That's why it is an individual journey to find out what it means for you and how you respond to distraction or your particular challenge or trigger. The next one is called Radiance, and that shows you what keeps you healthy. Go back to mine, or to this one here. Example, shadow, chaos. Can anyone relate to chaos? Chaos in your life, from chaos to cosmos, from disorder to order. So chaos is not something I need to fight or try to get rid of or try to judge or I'm so chaotic all over the place. No, it's a trigger for me to become aware. So, okay, let's pay attention. What do I do with the shadow aspect? I allow I allow the chaos. I accept, yes, there's chaos, and I embrace the chaos. Is that easy? No, it's not easy. Every time you're triggered, anytime something's upsetting you, is it easy to embrace it? No, it's not. Of course it's not. But that's why it's called a trigger or a challenge. A challenge is here to face and embrace and go through, and through allowing and accepting, it opens and it opens and it opens more and it opens more, and all of a sudden you're straight through. Oh, what happened? You're on the other side. And now the gift, particular gift here is called innovation. So that person has a particular gift to be innovative, to work with chaos constructively. And then the innocence is the city. Have you ever seen little kids playing and mom or dad comes into the room? Oh, what a mess, what a chaos, look at this. But when little children were just in their element, they were just playing, for them it's not chaos, for them it's innovation. And they're totally innocent. So how can you see how we can move from chaos through innovation, through innocence, to live your life from a sense of innocence and awe, and use your innovation instead of fighting constantly about chaos? You see how that works? So the gene keys is not, it's not a profiling system that says you're this and this and this and this and therefore you're that and that. No, it's working with you on a very individual and intimate level. So, okay, the last one then is called purpose. Here you can find out what deeply fulfills you. As an example, very quickly. Shadow aspect, can you read this? Corruption. Corruption. Oh, I'm really, especially these days, if I look out there, you know, my trigger of corruption, what has been triggered on the outside world, oh, there's bloody corruption everywhere. Oh, hang on a minute, I need to bring it back. And then my mind says, you look at this one, he's corrupt. No, hang on a minute, bring it back. Where's your own corruption? Where's my corruption? I have to own it, I have to allow it, accept it, embrace it, walk through it. And then I'm getting into a state of, what is the gift? Equilibrium. I'm here to shine equilibrium, moving and opening up to the divine meaning of equilibrium, which is harmony. So my purpose is to provide harmony, to bring harmony to individuals, to myself, to the community. It's my purpose. And if you string and keynotes all those words together, you get more and more a sense of why you're here, who you are, what is triggering you, and what's your true gift is. What your true gift is. Make sense? Can you see the value? That's probably too much text here. I don't want to need to go through this. So, the next aspect is what's called the Venus sequence. Your individual key to elevate, activate your purpose, and you elevate your relationships. And we use our daily lives and our relationships as fuel for our spiritual transformation. Who has heard that one before? Our relationships as a means to transform our lives. Love your brother as yourself, or see your brother as yourself. Because your brother is yourself. The next one, if you want to go out into the world and stop seeing the other, again, separation, no, it's an aspect of me. It's a reflection of my triggers and my patterns. So here we have also actually we have 6 spheres or aspects. This one is, what is the purpose of my relationship? It's an interesting one. What's more interesting, attractor? What is my attractor field? What kind of people or attributes or aspect do I attract constantly into my life to learn about relationships? That would be interesting, wouldn't it? To learn about this. Our mental views, this one here. This one is our emotional intelligence. This one is about our spiritual awareness, and this one hides our core wounds. And until we worked and dived down deeply into this core wound, all relationships seem to be not so fulfilling, put it this way. Once you work your way through this and then backwards again, and you have included and embraced all aspects of your Venus sequence, your relationships will change. They have to. It's no other way around. And thousands of people can vouch for that, because there are so many people in the world working with the Gene Keys. We also do online retreats. So the Gene Keys website is not only a website with lots of information and tools and the profiles, but we also do, since last year, we do online retreats, especially these days. So I'm a host. I'm helped to host online retreats, and sometimes so we have webinars, synchronized meditations, and we have community calls where we all get together when we go through a program. Let's say the Venus program. There's one starting in November actually. It's about 6-month-long online retreat with about 2 hours per week, where you work your way through your profile, and once every 2 weeks we come together as a community where we share our insights, our epiphanies, our breakthroughs. And that's really quite deep, and people have, through their sharing, have amazing insights and transformations. So the last one, I said before, it's your individual keys to liberate your prosperity. And we have, in this profile there are still 4 aspects, but I have an extended version here that will officially only come out next year, but I've got it in this presentation anyway. But if you go online, it's not as inclusive as here. So anyway, stability, what keeps you grounded to liberate your prosperity. Vocation, what are you here called to do? And creativity, how can you best express your creativity? It's the topic here. Your brand, what is your unique style? I mean, if you're self-employed or you're in a leading position, would it be nice to develop and to get to know your own brand, your own style, how you best communicate? Relating, how do you communicate best? The culture, in which environment do you thrive best? So do you thrive best in a one-to-one, or in a small team, or a bigger team, or a big corporation, or larger teams? So that all is revealed through your Gene Keys profile, where you can learn all this. And what is in the way of your prosperity? The final piece in the middle here. And those 3 aspects, the first one, the activation sequence, the Venus sequence, and the pearls. It's like spirals. One spiral opens, then the next one opens, you work your way through that one, and the next one opens, and you finally reach destiny, the final aspect here, your prosperity, and everything sort of clicks in and falls into place. When working with the Gene Keys, it took me 9 months to work my way through the first aspect, the first 4, remember, the activation sequence about my purpose. I took my time, and I really went deep, and I meditated, I contemplated, I wrote it down, and I was really mindful and aware in a way to learn. So And then I was ready for the next one. So it takes a little while. It's not just a quick tool or a quick fix. It's work. It's a journey of self-illumination. Now, any questions so far? Too much information? Bit much? Okay, 10 minutes. Because I said before, every sphere has frequency bands. The shadow, the victim, and that's when we bore it, and it's about our fear states. It's fear-based, right? Our creative impulse, our gifts, is when we orientate more about serving and others and honoring ourselves. When we open our hearts, Daniela said before, that's when the gift starts to shine. And we work predominantly with those two aspects. The city, full expression of self, I always say from my experience, it happens by itself. Don't work on that. It happens all by itself. All of a sudden you get this epiphany, this breakthrough. Oh, here we go. So, allow, accept, embrace. That's how we work with the shadow, victim patterns. It's too much. We need to learn to recognize and then activate our gifts and talents, our creative impulses. And the city is about realization, and then later we embody this. We are being it. Those divine aspects. So the 64 gene keys correspond to the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching and the 64 kodos in our DNA. There's been research and books written about the connection about the I Ching and the DNA. And here's an example. That's our codon ring. That's the ancient I Ching. And that's a human design mandala, and this one are the gene keys. You see, they're all in a circle, and here are star signs and the planets. With the gene keys, there's no relevance with the star signs, but the planets play a role. And depends on the time when you were born, that then activates certain aspects or codes in your DNA. Very simple terms. You see, that's how the 64 gene keys look like, or the I Ching. It's all about a broken line, yin, and an unbroken line, yang. You've heard about this before, yin and yang, or computer language, a 0 and a 1. We are software, we are computer language. So there are 64 possibilities to combine a broken and an unbroken line. 64-bit computer, that's what we are, our software, 64-bit computer, if you want to put it this way. And here it's the connection to our codons. So, too much information.
Can I just ask you something?
Yeah.
What happens if you don't know what time you were born?
Then we probably would go, okay, do you know morning, afternoon?
I think it was the evening.
Evening, so we can sort of go between 6 and 9, and then we could have a look at, is there much change on the surface, or is there anything major changing between 6 and 9? Most of the time, much is not changing within a time frame of 3 hours or so. Yeah? It might change on a more base level. Here I have a list, a spectrum of consciousness. Here we have from 1 to 64, we have all the keywords for the shadow. Here all the keywords for the gifts, and here all the keywords about the city. Can you read that? So it's a spectrum of human consciousness, and we are all activated or encoded with a combination of all of those. It would be interesting to Get to know what is your aspect, what are your individual triggers, what is your individual gift, what is your purpose. The central technique of the Gene Keys is the art of contemplation. There's also a book written by Richard. And it's similar to meditation, but it uses the mind in a playful and focused way. You keep one particular keyword in your mind's eye, and you see what comes up. You see what feeling comes up. You see what thoughts, images. And you pay attention to this. And you observe, how am I triggered from the world, third person? How am I triggered by another being, second person? How am I triggered by myself? So this is how you use the contemplation. It can be 5 minutes, can be 8 minutes, can be 10 minutes, can be an hour. It's totally flexible. It's the beauty of contemplation. You don't need to sit cross-legged. You can do it anytime, anywhere. It's a gentle approach. It's no tension. It uses the power of pausing, pivoting, and merging. See, it's a good way to get into the practice of meditation through pausing. Oh, I sit on the traffic light, and instead of screaming and shouting, oh, red again, I can't believe it. No. Create a pause.
Just wondering, is that technique similar to auto-suggestion? You know, when you say a certain word or phrase?
The phrase.
Concentrate it
Yeah.
on it and see what, images come to your mind and feelings, etc.
No, I think from my feeling, I think it's different. Here you let it come to you rather than you saying a particular mantra or a particular suggestion or affirmation. I think it's different. You just keep an open and wide and open mind and heart and gut. You just keep everything open and see what comes. One keyword is enough, just, okay, and then perhaps you keep it in your mind like, okay, distraction. Breathing, okay, what come up, distraction. Oh yeah, yes, I remember this and this happened. It's well suited to the modern lifestyle, and it engenders purity in the mind, purity in the head, and vitality in the body. If you do it, keep it as a practice. And then meditation is, of course, when you then sit and you get into the presence of your own being. That's the purpose of meditation, from my understanding. So you can also buy this book. There's only a small book. You can read that in a day, and you get that online as well through the Gene Keys or through my website. So, thank you for listening. I know there's lots of information.
Thanks for speaking.
That's my motto for you for the week. Be now here. Because you can't be anything else. You can't be anywhere else at no other time. It's always here, it's always now. In the presence of you being, let that shine. Gene Keys can help you with that. And I can help you with that too if you need guidance. So, you're invited to go on my website. There is a page for Gene Keys. Just click on, get your Gene Keys profile, put your details in. It takes you then to the Gene Keys website. Put your details in, and you can print out your Gene Keys profile. Have fun. And there you can see all the other material. There's lots and lots of material you can learn. And so pick bits and pieces. Okay, any questions? Ooh, not so many questions at once.
When you quieten your mind, is it best to try, like say you've got problems around you, and you want to quieten your mind? I find I get too distracted sometimes.
You must have the shadow of distraction in your profile.
Yeah, I must have. And I find sometimes when you quieten your mind, it's hard.
It is. You know, the natural condition of the mind is to be busy. Remember the 3 keywords: allow, accept, and embrace. Have you heard about the witnessing presence? So you are aware that you can't get your mind still. So there's you and there's the busy mind. Have you tried to turn around, if you want, not towards the busy mind, turn around and focus your attention towards that which is present, towards you, the I am. It's not easy. The mind always, I know, it always pulls you out. You know what? It's normal. It is. It's the nature of the mind. The mind is busy, otherwise it wouldn't be mind. So, and the key for a good meditation is to just be aware, allow, accept, embrace the busyness of the mind. And then the body, and here it hurts, and I can't sit anymore, and I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, and here's the mind about yesterday and this. That's the way it is. That's meditation. But once in a while, you got this, from my experience, I had this, there was a moment, there was a gap, and it's gone again, and I tried to, what happened? There was this moment of silence, this moment of nothing, no thingness, nothingness. That's meditation. There's busy, 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 gap, busy, busy. What happened? Busy, 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 gap, busy, busy, busy. No gap. That's meditation. That's the nature of meditation. Allow, accept, and embrace the busyness of the mind, because that's what the mind is.
Thank you so much for your time and your presentation and sharing your life journey with us.
My pleasure.
On the Meetup, you had said that you were going to obviously teach us how to recognise our deepest fears. And I know you shared the chart on your website, which I've already done before I got here.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you think you've done that this evening? Like,
How do we face our deepest fear? By
recognise like what they are for each and every one of us, basically,
okay.
other than the chart. Because I've done the chart, so
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a layer on top of that. Maybe.
No, when I talk about the gene keys and facing or getting to know your own fear-based patterns, it is through the gene keys profile and learning about your personal individual shadow aspects.
Okay.
And then through the art of contemplation and being mindful to integrate that into your day life and allow, accept and embrace your shadow aspects and learn about when they are triggered, how they are triggered, how you respond when they are triggered.
So basically just read the chart and look at the PDF that you also had on your site about, in detail what each area means.
Reading PDFs and reading the book is one thing. Mm-hmm. And reading your chart and looking at it, it's another thing. So you've got...
That's what I was thinking. I thought we were going to make that sort of bridge connection from both of them to figure it out together. Obviously, more work to do personally, but...
Yeah, you mean working through a chart or something? Through a profile?
No, your chart. My personal chart.
Yeah.
And then on the website you also have, the other PDF on how to read the report properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about.
I don't know if I don't know if
I might do a slide later.
Okay.
I don't know, am I the only one that thought that we were going to figure out our fears? Just wondering, I'm sorry about that. I'm actually, I really do appreciate, you taking the time and you do your journey. And I'm obviously here, present for it. But I guess if I maybe perhaps misunderstood, that's okay.
So maybe just to clarify, so the gene keys, it's about your own individual journey by recognizing your own challenges and triggers and working with them in your own time, with the guide or without, and working through them and get to know your own triggers. That's how we work with the gene keys, if that makes sense.
You mentioned that you offer a service to help people to work through their profile. Can you just tell us a bit more about what you do?
I have a set of very individual questions, and I use my intuition as well. When I talk to someone and I talk about a particular shadow aspect, I give feedback. I listen and I ask questions. And sometimes I can see when people try to escape or not looking at it. No, come back here. You said you were triggered when this and this happened, and so are you aware, and so forth. So I ask very individual questions. I have a whole list of the whole 64 gene keys. I have a pretty different questions relating to one particular gene key. And I go through those questions with you. And I make you aware of certain aspects and how your escape strategies maybe come through to me. So I'm offering more than 11 years of experience working with the gene keys, as well as working with, I've been, of course, a Miracles student and teacher for 15 years and work with the human design system and other things as well, non-dual inquiry, and so I bring all this together. I work for Lifeline as a counselor as well, so but I don't do counseling. But I'm walking beside someone, hand by hand, and we walk together. I'm not a teacher, I don't consider myself a teacher, I'm a companion for your transformation. Through my experience, through my transformational experiences, more than 30 years of work, I offer my experience to walk with you side by side. Any more questions?
I was just your time already. Just for us to really gauge, I guess, a real life example of, you working through the gene keys yourself, perhaps, or someone that you know, and going through all the different stages, and have you got an example of how this has worked, or what it was that they were challenged with? I know you had the words and the
keywords,
and all that, but I like examples and stories. That's how I understand and learn. So,
that's very individual, and every session I do with someone and walk with them through a guiding session, it's always individual. It's always it's
any one time one, so I can sort of.
One example, maybe I use the word of the Gene Key 50 in my purpose, the shadow of corruption, and the gift of equilibrium, the city of harmony. I'm not too close to you. So through this whole, how should I call it, last 6-month global experience of. Okay, I don't want to go into details here. But I don't listen to media, or I don't have a television, I don't listen to newspaper, but I get my information from different sources, And I felt within myself, by looking behind the scenes and asking questions, for me it's important to ask questions to make sense of some things. And there's so much that doesn't add up. Didn't add up for me. So I'm asking questions, I'm inquiring, I'm investigating. And then in between I felt how this sense of upset, anger almost, when I see a corruption in politics, right? So then I immediately become aware, oh, hang on a minute, how does it work? I'm not a victim of the corruption. So then a sort of a process starts within my own being, within myself. By inquiring. I call it this whole thing is about self-inquiring. It's about contemplation, self-inquiring, gentleness, and patience.
So going back to what Danielle said, I guess, as humans on Earth at the moment, we are a lot more connected to who we are as conscious beings, and in our communities and energies as well. Sorry, probably not articulating as well, but I guess good did come from.
Yes. Yes.
In a sense.
Everything happens for a purpose. There's purpose and meaning to everything. We just need to discover it, and need to discover it for ourselves. And then always bringing it back to myself. Corruption out there is a corruption in myself. Where's my own sense of corruption within me? I have to work on that. Not work, I don't like the word work. No, allow, accept and embrace. I need to embrace and allow and accept my own corruption. What does it mean even, my own corruption? You see, I can go down the rabbit hole we go. What does it mean, corrupt? Where am I corrupted? And I think, I'm not corrupted. No, then I wouldn't recognize it out there. Does it make sense? So it's a very intimate and individual journey everyone has to take for themselves. No one can do it for you. There's nothing to learn. There are no set rules. There's some keywords, and you pick up those keywords and see what they do with you. There are no set rules. Yes, there are guidelines. There are guided journeys through this whole thing that tells you, oh, this aspect means this, and here we have 3 levels, and you know.
Yeah, I've got a question now. So if you go through that journey of that contemplation and asking those questions, what is the end? Is it to move into your sovereignty? Is that the whole idea of?
That's a good question. What's the end? What is the goal?
What is the goal? Yeah.
What is the meaning of all this? To be happy. Ask anyone of those 7 billion people on this planet, what's their main purpose? What are they looking for? Happiness. Love is another word for it. Freedom. So what's the purpose of the gene keys? To find your happiness. Did I mention the last? Well, the 3 main questions for me: what is the nature of my experience? What is the nature of reality? And how can I find lasting peace and happiness?
So it's to overcome each of those aspects that you're still being triggered, so that you come into a place of
That you shine your light. That the peace and happiness within you shines. What else would you want? $1 million on top? Yeah, sure, why not?
It's interesting for me personally to see this, because I have been on a natural progression, and where I'm at the moment is accepting the shadow side and becoming very aware of my own triggers.
Yeah.
So that's been very interesting. That has been something
Presenting itself.
me,
Yeah.
that I have been doing that.
Yeah.
But I thought I knew what my purpose was, but as I went through, I'm like, oh, I don't know anymore. So I've come to a crossroads for myself that what I thought it was, it's maybe changed. I don't know, I'm a bit confused about that.
See, on top of the G keys of my profile was life's work, and my gift in there was enrichment. Now, here we have a keyword. What do I do with it? I throw the word enrichment in the air, and I contemplate enrichment. Okay, that's how you start. What does it mean? Well, for me, it meant, how can I enrich my own mind, my own life, my own being? And then as a reflection, as a gift, as a service, how can I help others to enrich their minds? And again, go down deeper the rabbit hole. What does it mean for you? Your sense of enrichment might be totally different to mine. So that's why it is so individual. And then through questioning and inquiring, we find out together, what does it mean, enrichment, for you? And then you get the idea, enrichment is this. This is, I had this idea almost all my life. Now I know. But it doesn't mean necessarily we have the same meaning about enrichment.
Yeah.
Well, that would be fun thing to do in this session.
One more thing?
Yeah, so is it generated, did you say it's generated from astrological and date of birth?
Yes.
Okay, so if myself and this lady have exactly the same date of birth, same time frame, we're working on a similar, yeah, is that how it works?
Yeah.
But I suppose just how you interpret it yourself, as opposed to how this.
Yeah. Plus with the, let's go back to the human design system, or to the I Ching. The I Ching has 6 lines.
Yes.
Underneath, there's 6 tones. Underneath, there's 6 colors. Underneath, there are 5 bases. So even the second difference between you were born, it makes already a difference on the very lower sequence.
Okay, right.
On the top, it might look the same, but underneath, it's already different. One meaning for shadow aspect, one meaning for pain, I always keep referring to is, it's the constant pull of grace. To pull you. Pull of grace. Grace of God, or consciousness, or love, always calls you back. Come on home. Without that, we would be home. Which we are anyway. It's just a game.
Always need to be pulled out of alignment. That whatever is triggering me, it's pulling me out of alignment.
Yeah.
Because now it's causing all this turmoil inside and bringing up
Yeah.
the emotion.
For us to get back into this presence of awareness, I was out. And that's the meaning the meaning of sin. It's not that we have done something terribly. We were out of alignment. Now let's get back in alignment.
Any more questions?
Any more questions?
Any more answers?
Any more answers?
Oh, this was wonderful. Thank you so much, Rolf, for the presentation.